What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brotech Gaming Podcast. This is the Last of Us episode 7
Six.
edition.
Six.
We episode 6. Is it 6?
Yeah, 7
Alright,
is the
6.
last one.
Okay, so we will be recapping episode 7. This will be very spoiler heavy. If you have not watched The Last of Us or intend on watching The Last of Us, probably shouldn't be watching this podcast till after that. If you don't care about The Last of Us at all, then watch this episode and support the channel. So yeah, me and Carlos are going to get into it pretty much right away. We're basically just going to go through kind of each scene, how we broke it down. So opening part of the episode is we get like flashback. We get like a super flashback. So we basically got Joel and Tommy, very, very young. Looks like they're teenagers. Like Tommy did something bad. He's worried that that he's gonna get beat. Joel's being that little, the protective guy that he is, saying like, don't worry about it. Like I'll take the blame for it. So basically shows Joel like waiting for his dad to get home. Lo and behold, Joel's dad is a cop, which I don't know if that's ever been mentioned before. And then they just have like this little conversation about like Joel sticking up for Tommy. The dad knows that Joel's covering for him. Told this little story about how like Joel's grandfather just like beat the absolute shit out of his dad when he was a younger age. So it's basically like Joel's dad still beats his kids, but not as bad as his grandpa. So beat him less bad. And then the big quote from the end of that scene is basically like, when you have your own kid someday, just be a little bit better than I was. And that seems like what the trend is for this episode. So that's the opening scene. Carlos, thoughts?
I like the opening scene. It had like Stranger Things vibes, just from all like the decor and the aesthetics and stuff. It looked really good. The actor that plays the dad, he also comes out in Better Call Saul. His name is Lalo Salamanca, and he also comes out in Hawkeye and the one show that they had,
the Disney show.
And also Daredevil Born Again. Very, very brief cameos, but he's a really good actor though. I really like him.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a very impactful scene. I like that the show's kind of diving into backstory that we never got from the game. So I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, his story was pretty crazy. Like he's talking about how his dad used to beat him. He broke his jaw and he had to have his jaw like wired shut for like 2 months. And then Joel was just like, well, I mean, if you got beat, why are you beating us? And he's just like, well, I'm not beating you as bad, so I'm doing a little bit better.
Like, I'm a little better than him. So when you have kids, you can be a little better than me. So that it was actually a pretty short scene, but it was pretty impactful. I don't really have much else to say about it than that.
Yeah, it was just crazy justification for that.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. So Carlos likes to skip the opening credits of the show. I actually like to watch the opening credits because I can't get past that iconic soundtrack from The Last of Us video game. Did get a little Easter egg at the end of the opening sequence though. Like we do have 2 shadowy characters at the end of that credit scene. So that's basically letting us know that we've got Ellie and Joel back in it again. Pretty straightforward stuff. But then once that's over, we're right back into Jackson. So this is going to be basically, sounds like a couple months after Joel and Ellie first get to Jackson. Shows Joel having a little conversation with Seth. Is trying to make some trades. Come to find out Seth used to be a cop in his past life. Didn't really go into much more detail than that, but it's just interesting giving Seth a little bit more backstory. But it's just basically just got Joel doing a little handyman stuff. He traded some things from Seth, which we've got this long montage of Joel basically like making or repairing a guitar for Ellie, which is, I think it's her birthday that he's doing it for, right?
Yep.
And then this is basically where do we get the scene of like him playing, right? He plays a song for Ellie for the first time. So we get this scene right away, and it's pretty much the iconic song from the game. I don't remember the name of the song, so we'll have to like throw it in there. But it's basically the song that Joel writes for Ellie, and he pretty much plays it out for her as part of Ellie's birthday. So that's kind of like the scene that we get from the start of this episode. How do you feel about that scene, Carlos? I thought it was pretty good. I liked it.
It was pretty good. I just I don't know how Joel would remember how to do all that stuff. Like nowadays, yeah, but like that was crazy. On like, unless you like lived as like rebuilding guitars and like restoration and stuff, like that process seems like it would be really hard. Like without YouTube, or like, you know, maybe he has access to books or something like that. 'Cause I mean, that's all you really have is just books on how to do it. Yeah. But that was crazy. Well, but
plus one thing to like rebuild a guitar, another thing to build it from scratch, right? So I can only assume that it's just him repairing a previous guitar. I mean, he was a carpenter in his previous life, so I'm sure he's very handy with woodworking and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's been so many years, and having the right resources for that kind of stuff too. It's just crazy that he took like an entire like bone, like leg or femur off of something, and just whittled it down to this like itty bitty like sliver of a thing. I'm like, that seems like kind of a waste, but I mean, it's cool. I mean, I was happy to get Joel, like more Joel into that. So, and I think I missed a moment from that too. In the midst of Joel doing all the Joel repair stuff, I think this is actually we get Ellie is being rushed in by Tommy, right? Because she had an accident. And this is where she gets her chemical burn for the first time. So I think this is actually before Joel gives the gift of guitar to Ellie. I think she comes home with Tommy first, and then she basically like scarred herself, and then she's out of it on painkillers because she's super loopy.
Yeah. So in the show, did they say that it was a chemical burn? Because she has said that she pushed herself against like a pot or something that was hot.
I think he mentions it was a chemical burn. I think in the like the chaos of Tommy trying to explain to Joel like what had happened, I think Tommy said something about a chemical burn, or Ellie said something about a chemical burn. You know, and then it's obvious that she did it on her own.
Yeah.
She said like, I wanted to wear short sleeves again, and that was like the whole thing. You know.
Yeah, she had already told Dina that too.
And then we kind of covered all the other stuff that came out of that. Any other thoughts about that scene otherwise, Carlos?
Not really. It was cool to see Joel sing to Ellie. That was the same song that Ellie started to sing.
It was in the movie theater. Like she picks up the guitar, because apparently there's guitars just everywhere in The Last of Us at this point. So yeah, she picks it up in the movie theater and she plays like the first line, and that was like the sort of like click that she has. Like, oh man, like I gotta take this seriously. So good scene. Next flashback, we're moving another year, so it's basically like we're trending on Ellie's birthdays like year to year. Oh, another thing that we missed too in that previous scene was one of the things he was trading Seth for was a cake. It says happy birthday, Eli.
Yeah, that was funny.
I actually thought that was kind of funny. And then he was just like trying to find a spatula or a knife, and then like Ellie's just like digging into it with like her hands. So I thought that was actually kind of a funny scene. But like so far, it's just kind of a wholesome episode. So moving on, next segment, we have the sort of iconic museum segment, pretty much taken straight out of the game. So we got, you know, Joel, you know, taking Ellie through the woods. They find a museum. There's the dinosaur that she climbs on top of. You know, we have the space pod scene where she gets like the helmet on, hops inside, and they do a little sort of reenactment from like the Apollo 11 spacecraft taking off. So that was a pretty iconic scene. And from the after, like the behind the scenes segment when the episode was done, Druckmann was basically talking about how they really wanted to just make this exactly as it was in the game. So they didn't really divert very much from that scene. It was pretty straightforward. Thoughts, Carlos?
Yeah, I was kind of bummed out that she didn't jump off from the dinosaur. Because in the game
Like
you're
water,
able to
right?
like
Was there
jump
like a
off
full
into the water.
scene?
Yeah. And I was waiting for it because she climbed up there, and then it just like cut to them inside the building. I was like, no, I
Well,
wanted it.
you know why they did that in the game, right?
For like just to show you how to swim type thing.
Yeah, it's basically like tutorial for learning how to swim. So I guess they didn't feel the need to do that in the show so much. Plus, then they're gonna be like running around the museum, and they're just gonna be drenched and soaking wet the whole time. It's probably not a good idea. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty straightforward. Like very good, very touching scenes. You know, pretty much game accurate from that point. And this is pretty much like midway through the episode so far too. So I'm at this point in the episode, like I'm actually like feeling pretty good about it. And I won't like get into my deep thoughts, but like it's after this that things start to kind of like change directions for me. So after the iconic dinosaur and space pod scene, we fast forward another year, and this is kind of like another like a backfill story-wise compared to the game, because this is stuff that we didn't get in the game. But it's basically like Joel comes back with another cake. He hears some rustling around upstairs, and he like busts in, and Ellie's flirting with that one chick that we were introduced to in the very first episode. That we kind of find out that they used to have a relationship together. Of course, I didn't know that it's when Ellie was only 17 years old. But yeah, so Joel walks in, and they're kind of like giggly googly, like doing some stuffies that, you know, young teenage girls do when they're lesbians. And we also find out this is the start of when Ellie starts getting her tattoo done. So that it's the first time, you know, Joel gets pretty pissed off, tells the other girl to leave, you know, slams the door, blah, blah, blah. Ellie's basically like trying to like leave in the middle of the night because she's just like, fine, I'm gonna move into the garage. And she's like, you're not gonna move into the garage. He's like, let me fix it up first, then you can have your own space. And then he has another little therapy session with Gail and finds out that the symbolism for a moth is not rebirth and whatever, but it's death. So that was kind of like a doomsday kind of thing. But I did kind of like that they gave a little bit of backstory to Ellie's tattoo, because in the game she just kind of has it and doesn't really explain very much. And if it did, I don't remember. So
I think there was a little bit of a throwback, or something being mentioned that Kat was the one that did her tattoo. I think it had to be like in a letter or something like that. But I think there is some kind of mention of Kat doing the tattoo.
yeah. And Joel's also super shocked to find out that Ellie was like into girls. Like he kind of went like full boomer for a second and was just like, what? Like, you don't like girls? You're crazy. You're just experimenting. And she's like, no, I'm not fucking experimenting. And for some reason, I felt like he should have been a little bit more aware at that point. She's already 17, but I guess it's something that they don't talk about very much. So yeah, I guess that was that. Any other thoughts on that scene, Carlos?
Yeah, I mean, she looked a little uncomfortable talking to him about it because, like, even like later in the episode when they're talking about Dina, like, it looks like she doesn't really want to talk to him about it, because I don't know if she's still not like okay with it, like talking to him about it, or she just doesn't think that he's gonna understand type stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Plenty of time to grow. Plenty of time. All right. So after that scene or segment, we move another 2 years after that. So this is getting pretty close to present day now. I mean, if Ellie was 17 in the previous scene, so we're now 2 years later, and so she's 19, which is when all the stuff goes down. But basically, it's kind of starts out with Ellie sort of like rehearsing some questions she's gonna have for Joel. Like, she's very obviously still really deep in thought about like what happened at Salt Lake, you know, like how like how were you able to get out and like everybody died? How were you able to get in, or how did the raiders get past all the defenses if they were able to spot you like over a mile away? Like there's just a lot of things that don't really add up to Ellie. So we're definitely led to believe that she knows or assumes a lot more than we think, or that even what Joel thinks. But as a gift for Ellie's 19th birthday, Joel's basically like, hey, you're gonna go on your first patrol, so you're just gonna follow me. So they're just kind of going through the woods, having a little chitty chat. And then basically, like, we kind of meet Eugene for the first time. Turns out Eugene and another guy named Adam, who goes like rolling by on a horse, like dead, like being dragged behind the horse. They got into a little skirmish with some infected. Looks like Eugene got bitten. So there's some tough decisions that need to be made. Joel's pretty much dead set on like, we're gonna have to shoot you. You're infected. That's the rules. Ellie's like, no, like there's still time. Like you can still come back and say goodbye to Gale, because that's kind of all that Eugene wants, is to say goodbye to Gale. It says like, it's not for her. It's for me. Like I need to see her face before I go. And like basically like Ellie's trying to plead with Joel that please let's bring him back. And Joel's like, okay, like go back and get the horses and I'll like wait for you. And then Ellie's like, wait, like you're not gonna wait for me. and Joel's like, I promise, and lo and behold, like Joel decides, nah, I'm still gonna shoot you. And it's the last thing he said was, if you love somebody, then it should be like the last thing you see. Their face is the last thing you'll see, or I don't know, something like that. I'm gonna tell you straight up that was not the way I thought this part of the episode was gonna go. I think there's gonna be a little bit more to it, and I was honestly kind of let down in how that happened. Because like when we get back to the camp, Joel's like, okay, like I'm gonna tell Gale only what she needs to know. And then he basically tells Gale, it's like, yeah, like he wanted to come back, but he decided to kill himself because he didn't want to like risk it. And Ellie's like, nah, you're fucking lying. It just pretty much like outs him in front of like everybody right there. And this is basically the reason why Ellie is pissed off at Joel for the next several months, just because he basically like lied to Ellie that he was going to let Eugene stay alive long enough to get back to the camp. But it's also like a tell that he has that she's seen before when he lied previously about the fireflies and stuff. So this is basically like Ellie's confirmation that, oh, like, so you were lying to me, and like I can't trust you and I hate you. And now she's just super pissed off. So that was kind of like the pinnacle of that for Ellie. Like she's had enough of his shit and his lies, basically.
Yeah, I actually like that they switched it up like that. I actually thought that they were gonna go more into Eugene's backstory, and I had always been saying, like, I don't know if we're gonna have enough time for that. I feel like what they did, giving us like no like real backstory on him, it just showed like how he died. I thought that was cool, because like in the game you don't really know anything about Eugene besides just kind of like whatever letters are left around, and you just know that he smoked a lot of weed and he grew a lot of weed. That was basically his thing, and that he used to be a firefly. That was it. So I've seen a lot of like thumbnails on YouTube kind of talking about what you had told me, that like Eugene found out and Joel had to kill him, and that whole like thing was going to be like a huge like story point, and it never happened.
Dude, I would have preferred that though. Like I would have preferred that, because I felt like it was lacking so much. It's just like, it literally just painted Joel to be just a piece of shit. Like that was it. Like he was just an asshole and didn't even want to risk it. Like it would have been so compelling to have a reason to kill him, and have Ellie, like like they could have been like at the embankment where the water was, and just like or like the part where Ellie's like, oh, like hold out your hand, like count to 10, and like let something slip from Ellie, just to be like, oh, like they used to make me do that too after I got bit, but I was okay, or something to like tip off Eugene that Ellie's more than she says she is, especially knowing that Eugene used to be a Firefly. Like, I feel like they can't mention that without connecting that somehow, and I just feel like it was a missed opportunity to make that a little bit more climactic. Like now Joel is even more compelled to kill Eugene because he knows something about Ellie, and then like let's say he just says something right before like Ellie like comes through the woods, and that's when Ellie finds out that what does he mean, like, you know, what does he mean that like, you know, about the Fireflies or whatever, and just like that could have been like the closure that Ellie needed to understand what actually happened. But to me, it's a missed opportunity. So
I was kind of shocked that Ellie kind of outed him. Like after everything that they've been through, she kind of just like threw him under the bus, like in front of like Tommy and Gail. Like, I don't know, it seemed kind of like out of character for her to do that.
It did, and it felt really rushed, especially like I know that we're progressively getting a different version of Ellie each year because she's growing up and she's a teenager and she goes through some stuff. You start to see like a little bit of the rebelliousness coming out with Joel being like the father figure, you know, and in the whole beginning of that scene of them going through the woods, Joel's like, oh, like this is really nice, right? Like this is just like how we used to. Like Joel is so desperate to hang on to like the good times and the innocence of Ellie, but she's growing up and she's getting more mature and he doesn't know how to deal with it. But yeah, like I agree, like all of a sudden she's just pissed, like super pissed off, and I'm like, that would have made way more sense if she knew that Joel had lied about the Fireflies. If they would have had that moment right there, just like in the game, it would have made much more sense. But like she's just been like ghosting him because of Eugene for like the past 6 months. Like, I don't know, man, this is really hard for me to get behind that. Any more thoughts, comments on that, Carlos?
Not really. But Ellie does have a Matrix poster in her room, and you know, like Eugene does play a character in the Matrix. Like he's on the poster.
True. That's a little Easter egg.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird though. It's like, do you not see like the resemblance? Like I know it's for us, like not for them, but I always thought that was kind of weird.
That is kind of funny. Okay. So we get another scene. This is kind of like the final scene of the episode, but now fast forward like several months after Ellie's pissed off at Joel for killing Eugene. We're kind of like back at the New Year's party where Joel like steps in to push Seth after Seth calls Dina and Ellie a dyke. And then it's that whole moment where Ellie's like, I don't need your fucking help. Like, what is wrong with you? And then like Joel just kind of like leaves, goes back to the deck and just is playing guitar. And this is where I'm kind of like conflicted. So we basically got the ending of The Last of Us 2 pushed into this scene so that we could kind of like see that conclusion to what happens with Ellie and Joel. So it's basically like Ellie still doesn't know that like Joel had to kill all the Fireflies to rescue Ellie. It kind of starts out with just the general questioning of just like, as soon as I saw you like lie about Eugene, I knew you lied about that back then. And then she starts asking him like the hard questions, you know, like what did you do? Like, was it really true? And Joel's just like basically just confirming to Ellie, just like, yeah, you know, all your feelings are true. I killed everybody, killed Marlene. And it's kind of like the famous line of like, if I could do it all over again, I would, because I love you in a way you don't understand, which is, you know, a little bit different from the game. But then this is so that we could tie in the whole, like, you know, maybe someday you'll understand when you have your own kids, and then maybe you can be a little bit better than I was. And that was basically like the whole like message they wanted to slam through. Which, you know, I'm not gonna lie, like it was a very touching scene. I enjoyed the scene because I've played the game, and I loved that scene very much from the game. But it was more impactful to me in the game because you don't get that till the very end. It's like you never really know in the game how Ellie truly feels about Joel. I mean, you know that she's bent on revenge because of what happened to him at the cabin. but like you don't really know, like, why was Ellie so mad at him in the first place, and what did they do to like recuperate that? Like you spend the entire game thinking like Joel will never know how Ellie felt about him at the end, and then you get that very last scene at the very end of the game, and you're like, oh damn, like they were actually trying to work through some shit. She did try to come to terms with what he did, and that was such an important moment in the game, because just like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't all for nothing after all. And they kind of gave that to us already on the front end, which it didn't hit as hard for me as I wanted it to. Like I wanted it to really hit hard, and it didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think they had to do it just because I don't think Pedro Pascal is going to be in season 3 like at all. Maybe like a flashback here and there, or maybe like none at all. So I think they were just trying to get it in where it fit in, and yeah. I think this was just probably the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, I guess so. And then after that scene, it pretty much cuts back to Ellie again, and she's just like back at the movie theater, and that's pretty much it, man. That's the whole episode right there. So I'm not really how about we give your thoughts on it overall, and like what you would rate the episode. We'll start with you.
Yeah, so I would say the first quarter was really good. It follows the game pretty much to like a T, which like that part of the game was really fun. It was nice being like small Ellie again, and like following around Joel again. The whole thing with the dinosaur like jumping into the water was cool. Going into the space capsule and doing like the countdown, and like they did it in the show where she like closes her eyes and she just like everything starts shaking, and she's like imagining that she's going into outer space, which is pretty cool. Like I actually have that a picture of that cutscene as like my home page on my PC. Like when you start it up, it's like the home screen before you put the password in. Like I love that picture because they're just like looking at each other and like smiling, and it was just like a nice moment. Like I always try to remember them in that way, just like a father-daughter like having fun. Mm-hmm. After that, like Ellie starts to change, and you it's gonna happen just because like every kid goes through that like teenage like rebellion, and she wants to be with who she wants to be, and she wants to do what she wants to do. So I think they did that pretty well. That whole thing about her moving into the garage was kind of funny because she's trying to move her mattress, and it's like pouring rain outside. Like she's gonna get that mattress like really dirty, and the garage isn't even clean. So like, where are you putting that mattress? On the floor?
Yeah.
So I mean, other than that, I'm kind of happy, just like in my opinion, that they didn't go too much into Eugene's backstory. I like the way that they showed us that he died, and it kind of set the plot up for Ellie finding out the truth about Joel. It was kind of weak. Like I do like your perspective on it, on how it should have been, like a little bit like more meat on the bone there. But so it all comes around. Like we see why Gail hates Joel. But I guess after some time she's kind of gotten over it. Not fully, because like we saw like her drunken birthday where she was just like, I fucking hate you. But like I understand what you had to do. But I mean, in the end, it wouldn't have mattered if he killed himself or he killed him. Like he still had to die. So I'm pretty sure she's thought about that and like had to come to terms with it. She was probably just more mad that he lied to her about it too.
Yeah, and it's mentioned that too. Like she said, like I understand why you did it, I just don't like the way you did it. And like she's actually said that in like episode 2, so we did get that.
Yeah, so overall, I would give the episode a 8 out of 10, just because of the beginning. Just I really like the beginning. I feel like I can watch the beginning and just like be happy about it. And at the end, when they did have their talk, I did get a little bit emotional, just knowing that Joel's not here anymore, and they were trying to come back together. And you have that line from Ellie. She's like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you, but I want to try. you know, and you see Joel like start to get happy knowing that like she is gonna stay there with him, because that's what he was scared of, is like she's gone, you know, like he was gonna lose her. And for Ellie to not forgive him, but to see a way forward where they can still like coexist and maybe like come together fully later down the road, was nice to see. But I mean, it sucks because we're never gonna get that anymore.
Yeah, true. Very true. Okay, well, I'm not gonna get into like too much more detail than what we already talked about. You know, you kind of know my thoughts and opinions about specific, you know, scenes, and you know the way they decide to depict some of the scenes. After listening to your take and your rating, I'm gonna rate it a little bit higher than I wanted to. I was gonna give it a 6. I was gonna give it a 6, and I think it's because I wanted so much more out of it. Like I just wanted more of an impact, you know, on those iconic scenes. This is probably the episode I felt the most divisive in terms of what I wanted from the show versus the game in comparison. But I think I'm gonna elevate it like to a 7. You know, like a very, very low, like 6.99999, like a 7.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, I don't know, man. It's hard because I you know, so far in the show, I think the first episode was probably my least favorite episode. But it's kind of on par with this one, and which makes me sad. Like I don't want to feel that way because I kind of knew what this episode was going to be about. I think I just wanted more of that impact at the end. And I'm sure people that never played the game, that are experiencing the show and the story for the first time, that you know, don't know anything about it, you know, this probably was a very impactful and emotional and really touching moment, which is true. Like that final scene where Joel and Ellie are having their little talk, like on the deck, that was a very important scene and very impactful scene. It was just different for us as gamers, the way it came about versus how it came about in the show. So I think that's probably where I'm the most divisive overall, but I'll still give it a 7. I'll give it a little bit of a nudge, man. I was gonna give it a 6, bro. I was gonna give it a 6. I was like, man, but I'll give it a 7.
All right. Yeah, so that closing scene where it has Ellie walking in the rain to the theater, I remember in the game, like she was like very bloody coming back.
Bloody, bro.
And in the show is like nothing. So I was kind of disappointed on that. I really wanted her to be like drenched in blood, like Carrie, like at the prom or something, you know? But
yeah,
we didn't get that either.
Well, it's because she was only smacking her kneecaps, whereas in the game she was smacking her face left and right, like a pop.
Yeah, so, kneecaps don't have no blood.
And we don't have to talk about it. We can save a little bit for the next episode. But did you happen to catch the upcoming preview?
I did. I didn't really see much. Like it didn't give too much of what's happening. It was just like a lot of facial expressions. But that's all I remember from it. I remember like Dina, like she was laying down, and then like Jesse was there, and that was like all I remember. There wasn't a lot.
I think I know where it's gonna end. I think I know where the season's gonna end, and I'm not gonna spoil anything on the episode. But I have a pretty good idea of where it's gonna end. Let's see if I'm right. We'll watch the finale next week. We'll give our thoughts and we'll see if I'm right. I thought I was gonna be right on this one with the whole Eugene thing, but it turns out I was wrong. So I could be wrong for next week too.
Yeah, so I think next week we're gonna have a longer episode just because we have Memorial Day the next day. Are you off Monday?
Yeah, I should be. I should be off.
So we can do a longer episode next Sunday because I'm off on Monday too. So
yeah, we will definitely cover the finale, and then we'll go into our thoughts about overall, how we felt about the season overall. So stay tuned for that one.
Yes.
All right, Carlos. You got anything else, man? You can go ahead and take us out.
Nothing much, man. Just super excited for the season finale next week. Let us know what you guys thought about it. I mean, if you guys are watching this, you guys are still watching the show, so let us know what you guys thought about the first flashback with the whole like Apollo and the dinosaur and stuff. And yeah, so check out the links in the description below. Follow us on the socials, like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next week for the season finale. Peace out.
Peace out, everybody.